You ever feel like the moment your plane dips beneath the clouds, you've already left behind the world you knew? As we started our descent into Istanbul, the whole cabin went quiet, not because people were tired, but because they knew something special was about to happen. I leaned over, pressed my forehead to the cold window, and there it was, that first glimpse of a city that has witnessed the rise and fall of empires. A place older than memory, but somehow more alive than ever. And the view? Breathtaking doesn't cut it. This isn't just a story about landing in a new city. It's about arriving in a world where history breathes through every stone, where continents meet, and where one descent feels like dropping through layers of time. Buckle up, we're landing in Istanbul. Approaching Turkish airspace about 45 minutes out, things started to change. The sun had just started to peek over the horizon, and the sky turned that surreal gradient of blue, purple, and pink. We were cruising high over the Balkans, and the captain came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our descent into Istanbul. Weather is clear. Temperature is 17 degrees Celsius." I looked around the cabin. People woke up, blinked out of their sleep, and some craned their necks to see out the windows. And slowly, inch by inch, the city started to reveal itself. The Black Sea shimmered in the distance, and somewhere below the Bosphorus Strait carved the land like a silver knife. It was hard not to get emotional. There's something sacred about watching a city rise to meet you from 35,000 feet, especially this city. Descent through history. As the plane descended lower, Istanbul unfolded beneath us like a tapestry. You could make out the dense clusters of buildings. Red-roofed houses, mosques with slender minarets, roads that looked like veins pulsing through a giant organism. There's a reason they call this city the bridge between worlds: Europe to the west, Asia to the east, and the Bosphorus flowing right through the heart. From above, the Hagia Sophia stood like a beacon, a living relic of the Byzantine and Ottoman worlds. The Blue Mosque, with its 6 minarets, mirrored it across the square. And all of it glowed in the morning light, golds and blues, painting a city that has survived sieges, fires, and revolutions. I tried to imagine what it was like hundreds of years ago, ships instead of planes arriving at these shores. What would a Byzantine merchant or an Ottoman sultan think if they saw a Boeing 777 drifting silently above their capital? Final approach. The captain tilted the wings slightly, and suddenly we were coming in low over the Sea of Marmara. The view sharpened. Ferries were darting across the water like tiny insects. Cargo ships lined up at the port. The early morning fog hovered just above the rooftops, giving the whole city a dreamlike glow. You could see neighborhoods like Kadıköy and Besiktas stretching out into the hills. The bridges connecting the continents, Bosphorus, Fatih Sultan Mehmet, looked like thread on a loom. Inside the plane, you could feel the change. People were wide-eyed, cameras pressed to the glass. Some people were returning home, some arriving for the first time. But every face wore the same expression: awe. Then came the gear. You felt it, that heavy thud beneath the floor, wheels locking into place. The flaps extended. We were close. Touchdown in Istanbul. The runway approached fast. We came in low over fields, over suburban sprawl, then suddenly the city was gone, replaced by tarmac, lines, and flashing lights. The plane touched down smoother than I expected. There's this moment where the wheels kiss the ground, and you feel the vibration rush through your body. The engines roared into reverse, and the plane slowed. Istanbul Airport, one of the biggest and busiest in the world, welcomed us like a gate to another realm. And just like that, we were on Turkish soil. Outside, the airport glowed, massive, modern, efficient. But behind it all, you knew what was waiting: the ancient city. The living soul of Istanbul. We taxied slowly, and I just kept staring out that window. Every inch of ground felt like it carried 1,000 years of stories. Disembarking and first moments. There's something deeply humbling about stepping off a plane in a city like Istanbul. The air hits different, thick with moisture, salt, and something you can't quite name. The jet bridge connected, the doors opened, and people filed out. Businessmen, tourists, locals, all spilling into the arteries of the airport. As I stepped into the terminal, I looked around. Turkish signs everywhere, announcements in multiple languages, screens showing flights to places I'd only read about. The smell of fresh simit and Turkish coffee drifted from nearby kiosks. There was a hum in the air, excitement, movement, urgency. Passport control was swift. The officer didn't say much. Just looked me in the eye, stamped my passport, and nodded. Boom. I was in. And then, the doors slid open. You know that moment in every travel movie where the character steps into a completely new world? This was that moment. Looking back and ahead, so there I was. Bags in hand. Heart pounding. Standing in Istanbul. Behind me was the journey. The flight, the descent, the awe from above. Ahead of me? A city of secrets. Of hammams and bazaars, palaces and pigeons, tea gardens and traffic. A city that stretches across time zones and tectonic plates. A place where every corner could lead to a story. And I couldn't wait to begin. But that landing, that first sight of Istanbul from above, I'll carry it with me forever. Because sometimes, the way you arrive in a place sets the tone for everything that comes next. And arriving in Istanbul? That was magic. There's something strangely mesmerizing about the moments after a plane lands. The rush is over, the wheels are on the ground, and suddenly, everything slows down. You're still buckled in, ears popping, heart still racing from descent, and the engines begin to hum at a lower pitch. Outside your tiny oval window, a whole world begins to move around you. Airport ground crews, terminal buildings, distant planes climbing skyward. And then, you realize, you've landed, but the journey isn't quite over. This is the story of what happens next. A journey not in the skies, but across concrete, steel, and glass. We're taxiing through the mighty Istanbul Grand Airport, one of the most advanced and busiest aviation hubs in the world. And trust me, this part is far more fascinating than most people think. Post-landing silenced touchdown. The wheels screech softly against the runway, the cabin jolts, and for a few seconds, there's a strange silence, a stillness. The roar of reverse thrust fills the air, vibrating through the floor beneath your feet. The brakes kick in, and the plane slows, gently at first, then with more urgency. Everyone in the cabin seems suspended between two realities. We're technically here, but not there yet. Some passengers begin reaching for their phones. Others glance out the windows. There's a low murmur, a shuffle of anticipation. But outside, outside it's a ballet. As we slow to taxi speed, I see airport lights blinking in perfect harmony. Our aircraft glides gently across the tarmac, veering off the main runway toward the endless maze that is Istanbul Grand Airport. Taxiing begins. We begin our taxi. From this height, the airport looks like a living organism. Other planes are in motion, some taking off, others being towed, some lining up in perfect order. Ground vehicles dart back and forth like worker ants. There's choreography here, a rhythm few passengers ever fully appreciate. Out my window, the terminal comes into view, and it's massive. Stretching across the horizon, it feels less like a building and more like a small city. You can just catch the curvature of the iconic roof, the sleek design shimmering under the glow of the floodlights. Inside the cabin, the tension shifts. People check their watches. Kids begin to stir. Flight attendants make their final rounds. But me? I'm focused on what's unfolding out there. The taxi route is longer than most. That's the nature of flying into an airport this large. But that's what makes it interesting. It gives you time to absorb the scale. Glimpses of the airport. We pass other gates. Jet bridges connect sleek modern planes to gleaming glass doors. Airline logos from every corner of the world: Lufthansa, Emirates, Turkish Airlines, Qatar, British Airways, line the apron like badges of honor. It's a museum of aviation in motion. Maintenance crews wave as we pass. One crew finishes guiding a plane into its gate, signaling with glowing batons, part of a perfectly timed dance. Fuel trucks are docked like lifelines. Baggage carts snake along designated lanes. And everywhere, lights. So many lights. Blue taxiway edge lights. Green center lines. Amber stop bars. It's like watching the backstage of a show that millions of people pass through without ever seeing the gears. Nearing the gate, the aircraft makes a wide turn. Now, we're getting close. A Turkish Airlines 777 peels off into a parallel gate beside us. A smaller aircraft waits behind us, engines purring. Our pilot speaks over the intercom. We are currently taxiing to our gate and should arrive shortly. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened. People start to shuffle anyway, standing, stretching, pulling bags from overhead bins. The flight attendants politely urge them to sit. A soft chime rings. The mood shifts from anticipation to action. Outside, a follow-me vehicle with flashing lights takes the lead. We follow. Our aircraft inches forward, passing gate after gate. Every gate seems to have its own story. Some planes have doors open, welcoming new passengers. Others are empty, their crew preparing for the next leg of their journey. Docking sequence, and then, there it is. Our gate. The marshaller stands in front, glowing wands in hand. They guide us in with precise, practiced movements. Left. Straight. Slow. Stop. A perfect alignment. The engines wind down, that long exhale of the aircraft. The cabin lights shift from dimmed blues to bright whites. The moment you hear that soft ding, the seatbelt sign switches off. There's an unspoken rush. Outside the window, the jet bridge rolls forward. It's robotic, precise, like an arm reaching out to welcome us. Ground crew spring into motion. A conveyor belt lifts toward the cargo hold. Baggage carts line up in formation. In the cockpit, systems are shutting down. Outside, fuel valves are secured. Chocks are placed around the wheels. Doors unlock with a hiss of pressure equalizing. The human flow inside the cabin, it's a symphony of zippers, sighs, and cell phones coming back to life. People stretch their legs after hours of being still. Overhead compartments open like popcorn kernels bursting. Some are in a hurry, tight connections, business meetings. Others linger, taking their time. The crew bids everyone farewell with practiced warmth. The front door opens. That first breath of new air, airport air, cool and metallic. That first footstep off the plane is always special. Through the jet bridge windows, you glimpse the terminal. High ceilings, reflective floors, bustling energy. You're not just in another city. You're in Istanbul. And this terminal? It's a monument to travel itself. So, that was the journey from touchdown to dock at Istanbul Grand Airport. A process many see as mundane, but when you slow it down, when you really watch it, it's anything but. It's a final chapter to your flight. A final dance between human and machine, airport and aircraft. We often think the flight ends with the landing. But sometimes, the most intricate parts come right after. The moments we overlook are often the ones where the magic lives. Welcome to Istanbul. The plane door opens with a subtle hiss, and for a moment, the world beyond is just a sliver of fluorescent light and hushed voices. You're standing in the aisle, bag slung over your shoulder, heart quietly pounding with anticipation. You've landed. But now begins the next act, one often rushed through, overlooked, or taken for granted. What does it feel like to walk into one of the world's largest and most striking airports, Istanbul Grand Airport, for the very first time? Let's take every step together, from the airplane door to the grand hallways of Istanbul. From jet bridge to immigration. From sterile corridors to architectural splendor. You'll see, this part of the journey might just be the most mesmerizing. Exiting the aircraft, you shuffle forward slowly. The overhead bins creak open all around you, and everyone reaches for their piece of baggage, their little companion from the sky. Flight attendants smile, reminding passengers to check their seats, their pockets, their memories. You step into the narrow passage of the jet bridge. It's surprisingly warm, a tunnel of transition. Behind you, the aircraft cabin, filled with hours of air, movies, and stillness. Ahead, movement, purpose, a new place. You emerge from the jet bridge into the terminal, and immediately, it's grand. The ceilings soar. The lighting is soft but powerful. And there's something about the air. It smells different, clean, filtered, laced with the buzz of arriving stories. First impressions. Istanbul Grand Airport doesn't reveal itself all at once. It unfolds. The first hallway is quiet. Just the shuffle of footsteps and the hum of escalators. But then you round a corner and the scale begins to register. Polished floors stretch beneath giant windows. You can see the tarmac again, the same one you just taxied across. Only now, it's like looking into a dream you just woke from. Digital signs in Turkish and English light the way. Transfer flights, passport control, baggage claim. Each sign a fork in the road. Every few steps, something draws your eye. Modern art installations, curved steel architecture, rows of duty-free shops glowing in the distance. The walk to passport control. The corridor stretches long, but never feels dull. Passengers from every continent walk beside you. Some silent. Some chatting in languages you can't place. A swirl of cultures moving in unison towards something shared. On your left, an enormous wall of glass offers a glimpse outside. Istanbul's evening sky begins to dim. A hint of deep orange folds behind distant hangars. On your right, the first cafes and kiosks appear. Turkish coffee in paper cups. Börek and simit behind clean glass counters. It's tempting, but first, passport control. As you approach the border checkpoint, the atmosphere shifts. Quiet tension. Everyone lining up. Families with children. Solo travelers clutching passports. Crews in uniform. It's an elegant kind of order. Immigration experience. Now comes the pause. The wait is quiet but observant. People scan signs. Border agents wave the next person forward. Each desk is its own silent scene. Your turn comes. You step forward, passport in hand. The officer barely says a word, but their fingers move fast across a keyboard. A glance at you. A glance at the screen. A stamp. The sound of that stamp is oddly satisfying. It's official now. You're in Turkey. You exit the immigration zone and descend down an escalator. The hum of the airport returns, but it's louder here, a convergence of travelers who've all just arrived. The baggage hall and customs. Now, the baggage hall. It's massive, a cavern of carousels spinning slowly, like mechanical merry-go-rounds. Each screen displays a flight number. You find yours. And then the wait resumes. The carousel jerks to life. Bags start appearing, some wrapped in plastic, others battered from their journey. There's a quiet thrill in spotting your own. A reunion of sorts. Bag in hand, you head toward customs. The green lane calls your name. Nothing to declare. You keep walking. No questions. No stops. And then, just like that, you emerge. Arrival hall. The arrival hall is a burst of color, light, and emotion. People are waiting with signs. Families holding flowers. Businessmen scanning the crowd. Someone shouts a name. There are hugs, waves, reunions. Cameras flash. Laughter echoes. You step into it, a mosaic of moments. A place that exists only in airports, where goodbyes once were and hellos bloom anew. You glance around. You made it. The terminal stretches out before you, like a city within a city. Shops. Lounges. Quiet corners. All of Istanbul lies just beyond the glass doors. This is more than just getting off a plane. It's a passage. A transformation. You began on a plane, high above the clouds. Now you're walking through a cathedral of travel, where steel meets soul, and footsteps mark the beginning of new stories. Welcome to Istanbul. You know that feeling. You land, you rush, you try to escape the airport as quickly as possible. But what if, just once, you did the opposite? What if the airport was more than a stopover? What if it was a place to be? Welcome to Istanbul Grand Airport, not just one of the world's largest, but also one of the most beautiful, thoughtful, and surprising. This isn't just a terminal, it's a modern marvel of design, culture, and comfort. Today, we're going to spend quality time in Istanbul Grand Airport. We're not rushing to catch a flight. We're not sprinting for baggage claim. We're here to explore, to relax, and to discover everything this place has to offer. So settle in. This isn't just a travel vlog. It's a journey inside the airport that's redefining what an airport can be. A city inside an airport. The moment you enter the main terminal, something clicks. You stop, you look up. The ceilings are vast and geometric, modern yet inviting. Natural light pours through enormous skylights, and everything is so clean it almost gleams. There's no mad rush. People stroll. Families pause at digital info kiosks. Business travelers drift toward lounges. And in the middle of it all, space. Beautiful, intentional space. Istanbul Grand Airport doesn't feel like an airport. It feels like a contemporary city wrapped in glass and steel. There are walking paths that look like museum floors. Rest areas designed with warm wooden textures and lounge chairs you actually want to sit in. And just when you think you've seen it all, another wing opens up. Turkish hospitality in transit. Now let's talk food. Because you're in Turkey, and Turkey does not mess around when it comes to eating well. Skip the fast food. Instead, head to one of the Turkish cafes tucked between terminals. Maybe it's a steaming glass of K, served in those iconic tulip-shaped cups. Or a fresh simit, warm, sesame-covered, and perfectly chewy. You sit down with your tray. No rush. Just the hum of travelers around you. Your people watching, letting your thoughts wander. Behind the food is something deeper, hospitality. Staff smile. Tables are cleared promptly. Even the airport seating feels more like a lounge than a waiting room. You start to realize, they want you to stay here. And honestly, you kind of want to. The cultural corners in between the gates and the shops. Istanbul Grand Airport hides little gems of culture. You stumble on an art exhibit tucked into a corridor, featuring Turkish calligraphy and contemporary installations. It's not just decoration. It tells stories. Of Istanbul. Of East meeting West. Of past flowing into present. Keep walking, and you might find a digital experience gallery where you can interact with Turkish heritage, try your name in Ottoman script, or see a mini documentary about the Bosphorus. This place isn't just a transport hub. It's a cultural checkpoint. A bridge. And every hallway has something to say. Let's talk luxury. Ever wonder what those lounges are like beyond the frosted glass? In Istanbul Grand Airport, they're not just for first-class travelers. Many lounges here are open for a fee or with certain cards, and once you're inside, the world changes. Think Turkish mazes lined up under soft lighting. Cozy armchairs with runway views. Private shower suites. Quiet zones where even the air feels slower. This isn't about indulgence. It's about comfort done right. You plug in your phone, sip some iron, and suddenly realize an hour has passed, and you're okay with that. Shopping the bazaar, time to stretch your legs, and maybe your budget. The airport's duty-free area is essentially its own district. There's the usual suspects: perfumes, electronics, chocolates. But then, you turn a corner, and it's like walking into a modern version of the Grand Bazaar. Carpets. Copperware. Turkish delights in ornate boxes. Leather goods. Even if you're not buying, it's fun just to browse. The blend of old-world charm and sleek presentation is addictive. Need a break from walking? There are seating pods where you can kick back and admire your finds. And hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to hit that like button. Drop a comment below to share your favorite airport experience, and subscribe if you want more immersive travel stories like this one. We're not done yet. Rest and recharge. You head toward one of the quiet rest zones. The signs lead you there like whispers. What you find is surprising: calm, dim lighting, padded recliners, charging stations, and silence. It's not a gate. It's not a cafe. It's a sanctuary. You stretch your legs. Maybe close your eyes. Maybe read a chapter of that book you've been ignoring. Every 5 minutes or so, an announcement plays gently in the distance, but it never feels jarring. The airport feels like it's breathing with you. Watching the world. As your time winds down, you find yourself standing at one of the panoramic windows. Planes taxi slowly beneath you. Buses zigzag across the tarmac. Runways stretch into the distance. Somewhere out there, a flight to Tokyo. Another to Nairobi. Another to Rome. You realize something. The world meets here. Istanbul Grand Airport isn't just a place between places. It's a global heartbeat. And you've been right in the middle of it. It's almost time for your next flight. But before you go, you take one last look around. The terminal feels familiar now, not just functional, but personal. You've had Turkish tea. Seen art, heard 5 languages. Watched the sun set behind gate D20. Maybe you've only been here a few hours, but something about this place stays with you. Next time someone talks about layovers or waiting around, you'll remember this. Because Istanbul Grand Airport isn't just a place to pass through. It's a place to be. Thanks for joining me in this journey. Safe travels. And I'll see you in the next video.